Welcome back to Man vs. Weed, the cannabis review podcast that asks, you mad, bro? This week we're going to take a look at some Sensi Wizard by Highland Grow. And then we're going to hop over to the gray market to check out a Moonrocket by HerbStoreBC. Quick Northern Lights auto update, they're now on week 5. Here in the interior of BC there have been record-breaking temperatures from a heat dome. What the fuck is that? They never told me about heat domes during a pandemic in school. Anyways, I bring this up because it was upwards of 50 degrees Celsius for like 5 days in a row. Air conditioning units were literally failing across the city, so keeping temperatures down for plants has been a chore, to say the least. These autos have been troopers though, and seem to be chugging along despite the heat. The temperatures had come down a bit outside, but then everything lit on fire. Turns out lightning plus air conditions equals fire. So on top of that heat, there's a lot of smoke and ash in the air. If you can, please donate through the Red Cross or on one of the many GoFundMes set up for folks who have had to evacuate. The plants should be okay though. However, if there was any stress, autos are more prone to being stunted, since they don't have the time to recover that a regular photo period would have. But so far they look okay and I'll just keep an eye on them. Okay, so today's first sample is Sensi Wizard by Highland Grow. Highland Grow is located in Nova Scotia, and they're very proud of that. Beyond that, though, there isn't a lot of information on the website. But from what I've been reading, they don't actually grow a lot of weed. Mostly they just purchase it from other producers and repackage it at a higher price. Highland Grow used to be owned by a company called Biome. They've been around since legalization started. I sat through a boring-ass interview with Biome CEO Khurram Malik in which he openly talked about the costs of his weed purchases coming down while keeping the prices $1.50 higher than the average Canadian cannabis price. So higher prices despite production costs being down 13%. I watched another interview where a big alcohol culture vulture on their board openly spoke about using credibility from the Canadian legal cannabis market to springboard into the international market. These are people that don't give a fuck about the plant or the people buying it. It's just another product to them. In August 2020, Biome sold Highland Grow to MYM Nutraceuticals for $1.5 million and $42.8 million in shares. This deal was supposed to expand MYM Cannabis' footprint and give Highland Grow access to cannabis from their Quebec-based facility. This is odd for a company that's entire brand is Nova Scotia and promoting a local workforce. Anyways, keep your eye on the ball because the shells keep moving. In April 2021, MYM and Highland Grow were acquired by IM Cannabis, boasting super premium positioning, complementary brands, enhanced distribution, and export opportunities to Israel and European markets. Remember what that alcohol culture vulture said about a springboard? Well, I guess it worked. The price tag was unclear to me at the time of recording this podcast, as it's still being hammered out by the lawyers. It all seems a little odd to me, but I'll leave that to smarter people than I. Today's sample came in a bright orange Ziploc pouch. 1 point for Highland Grow. Sensi Wizard is a sativa. Its parentage is diesel crossed with haze. Its top terpenes are myrcene, humulene, alpha and beta pinene. Inside the pouch there was a slight sweet cannabis smell, kind of like the inside of a cannabis store. Terps were here. They left, but they were here. The package was dated April 14th, 2021, and its THC was rated at 24%. It was $12.50 a gram plus tax. That's $350 an ounce, plus tax. For an extra $50, I could buy a quarter pound of fire on the black market. The price is a deal breaker, but let's move on. The buds themselves were tiny pieces, but with little stem and a bit of leaf. The buds were a light green color with red hairs. The weight was good at 1.1 grams. Unfortunately, taking a look at the trichomes under the microscope, there was the usual gloopy mess, like someone sprayed them with glue or snot or something. However, I've learned to break them open to truly see them. Whatever they do to these buds, whether it's radiation, tumble trimming, or, and I hope this is not the case, spraying them with something, but it definitely affects the outside of the buds significantly. I don't know what it is, but it's like this with pretty much every single sample. Inside the bud, however, the trikes look healthy and plentiful, with a good mix of clear, amber, and cloudy trichome heads. The buds were dry to the touch with just a hint of moisture inside. so they didn't burst into crunchy dust, but they weren't moist and sticky either. Busting it apart provided no additional nose, which is disappointing because who doesn't enjoy the smell of fresh ground cannabis? I rolled the whole gram in a raw organic paper to smoke it outside in the hellish wasteland that is wildfire season. I like to draw air through an unlit joint just to taste the cannabis. I haven't smoked cigarettes in 23 years, but I used to do the same thing with tobacco, and I bet it's still delicious. But with the Sensi Wizard, there was just no taste at all. It burned okay, if a little harsh. I actually sneezed on my first puff and coughed quite a bit. There was not a lot of flavor when combusted. If I were to describe it though, I'd say hashy. The ash was gray and rather dense. Not white and fluffy like you'd like to see from a $350 plus tax ounce. The high was a solid mid-level buzz. It seemed to radiate from the head to the upper body. It definitely wasn't knock you on your ass is this laced good, but it also wasn't let's go talk to the dealer because he sold me some oregano bad. Somewhere in the middle. For the price though, I expect better, but some of you might be okay with that. It was, however, short-lasting, which is always the case in the legal market in my experience. Maybe that has something to do with the trichome damage I always see. Who can say? So, it had good packaging, okay buds, and an okay high at a premium price. I've had worse. However, even if I recommended them, I can't be sure they would be consistent, since they're just buying and reselling cannabis. I would be open to try them again though, which is more than I can say for Zenibus. Sadly, these folks seem to have one goal, making money. So while I'd recommend they bring that price down, I don't expect they will. Their company will continue to be tossed around like a hot potato, and we'll see if they're even still around in 5 years to review. Next up we have a Moonrocket. A Moonrocket is supposed to be a great cannabis pre-roll, slathered in distillate and rolled in keef. You won't find these on the legal market. Constant listeners may remember that this was given to me a few weeks back by a fan of the show. It came with some Nukin, and I positively reviewed that at the time. The sender seemed okay with that positive review. However, yesterday when I opened the Moonrocket, I found it was floppy near the filter. As I'm sure you know, this will make it very hard to smoke. So I tried to gently tap it to fix it, But I didn't want to knock that keef off of it, so I had to be very careful. When I lit it up, it was very apparent that the roll job was floppy and very hard to smoke. I posted a video of it on my Twitter account. Apparently this made the sender very angry and lashed out at me saying my dick was floppy. Which, while childish, is actually quite accurate because one thing that doesn't make my dick hard is bad pre-rolls. One issue with pre-rolls I have spoke about before is exponentially bad with Moonrockets. With pre-rolls you don't know what's inside them. It could be floor sweepings, mixed with questionable quality cannabis for all you know. With a regular pre-roll you could open it up and take a look at it. It might give you some insight as to the quality of the product that was used. A Moonrocket is $14. To look inside, you would have to tear it apart and ruin the Moonrocket. So no one is going to do that. So that's your first who knows what was used in that. But then you have the distillate and keef on the outside. Those things are made from cannabis as well. What was the quality of the cannabis that was used to make those things? Who can say? Now this ain't my first experience with this type of product. I've also had Fukushima Moonrockets and ICC firecrackers. The ICC firecracker had me thinking about putting it out halfway through. But I would never disrespect it like that. The ICC firecracker would literally ooze down the side as you smoked it. Highly recommend. This Moonrocket, however, didn't do that at all. I had to be very careful not to break it at the flimsy spot. It was hard to draw through as the empty space closed in on itself. The smoke was bitter and not tasty. And the whole thing was gone in about 5-10 minutes. One of the reasons I wanted to put out the ICC firecracker was because when you soak high-quality cannabis in distillate, it burns forever. Now, I don't know when this was rolled, but I suspect the cannabis inside was very dry. Furthermore, the ash was dark gray and black. The other reason I wanted to put out the ICC firecracker at the time was it got you stupid high. This Moonrocket, however, just felt like smoking a joint, and not a great one. I might have even got the same high or better from the Sensi Wizard. I was excited for this Moonrocket, and was quite disappointed, especially for $14. The guy that sent it to me went on a tirade for simply saying it was floppy. I suspect he won't be too happy about this either. All I can say is, don't send me stuff to review, then dare me to review it, then get angry when I review it. That's not how this works. If you want a good review, send me something good to review. 'Cause this ain't it. Thanks for listening to another episode of Man vs. Weed. If you'd like to support the podcast, like, subscribe, and most importantly, get it in the ears of somebody else you think might like it. I appreciate all the love, and it makes this shit worth doing, because it certainly hasn't been the cannabis. As always, follow me at StreetVillain on Twitter, email me at manversusweedthc@gmail.com, smoke all that cannabis, and free the motherfucking weed.